The topic of this video lesson is etymology. Etymology is the study of the origins of words. Now, two great resources that we have in our classroom for etymology is a fabulous book called In a Word, and it investigates the origins of many words. We also have this available on the Kindle app. And then another great resource that we have is Cryptomania, which explores Greek and Latin roots. And this is one of my favorites because it's done in a cartoon type style. Keep in mind that we also have a fantastic vocabulary station in our classroom where you can find vocabulary words hidden in QR codes. Remember that when you use our devices, you are using the QR code scanner app. You'll want to scan a code, line up the device right over a code. Our codes will take you to a QR code homepage that will provide the definition of a word for you, along with the particular word for you to work with. Studying words involves examining root words and affixes, as well as derivations, or words that have been derived from other word parts. Now, the third grade notebooks should include the etymology information, along with a review of root words and affixes. You will also be putting in your notebooks a review of synonyms, antonyms, homophones, and homographs. And as a great reference tool for you to use, you will be including a list of common prefixes and common suffixes. Fourth grade etymology pages will be including derivation, information about Greek and Latin roots. We're going to learn about Greek allusions. Then you will include a review of some figurative language, similes, metaphors, idioms, and allusions. Your notebooks are going to include a reference list of common Greek roots, common Latin roots, and then I want you to be sure to put in an allusions page. When you put this page in, you're going to cut the parts as flaps, only gluing down this part on the side. That way later we can study these common myths and talk about the allusional references. Third grade notebooks will have the difference between the literal meaning of a word and a non-literal meaning of a word. We'll be investigating some non-literal meanings. And a great example of words that you compare the literal and non-literal meanings of are idioms. You're going to have a list of common idioms and animal idioms to put inside your notebook. I'm asking you to choose one of the common idioms and one of the animal idioms to provide a literal and a non-literal example from. I've chosen to use draw a blank, literal and non-literal. And then I've chosen bee in her bonnet for a literal and a non-literal example. Now, if we all go back to the idea of a homograph or homograph, we check out the roots of both of these words. Homo meaning same and graph meaning writing. Both of these are Greek words. So by definition, a homograph is the same writing. Now, many of our multi-meaning words are just that. They're words that have different meanings, but they're spelled the same. We spell bat the same way, but the meaning can be very different depending on which object we're referring to. So you'll be including multiple meaning words in your notebook. You're going to create a flap for a list of multi-meaning words, only gluing at the top. Your multi-meaning word list starts out very basic and then builds up. Please choose one word in the more complex column to define, getting both definitions. You'll be choosing something other than my example of sentence. Now, let's move on to a final note about multiple meaning words. The concept of a connotation. A connotation is that idea or feeling that a word invokes in addition to its literal or primary meaning. I've used the example of home. Home is a place, but home can mean things like warm, comfortable, pleasant, and even safety to some people. So in this way, home is a word with a literal meaning, a place, but its connotation is something different. Wall Street is another word that has a connotation. It is a place, but some people think of Wall Street as a representation of wealth, power, and even greed. Both of these words are places, but one has more of a positive connotation and the other more of a negative view. Now, what's interesting about words and their connotations is that some words can have both positive and negative connotations. Take the word thin, for example. The thin woman walked gracefully across the room. When we use thin in this sentence, we're using it in a positive way to say the woman was thin, perhaps slender. The second example, the thin woman filled her plate with food. We'd be using that with more of a negative connotation, perhaps saying that she's skinny and maybe even unhealthy. The final thing you're going to do is take this collection of words with different connotations. You will be reading each word, and then I would like you to sort them by positive connotation and negative connotation. And that's for the etymology section of your notebook.